Joining us now from Tel Aviv is Tom Gross, political analyst and longtime observer of regional affairs. Tom, welcome to the program and thank you for taking the time to share your insights during these tense hours.
So, about an hour ago, Iran launched one of the heaviest bombardments of missiles at really the whole of Israel. Since the beginning of this conflict 8 days ago, there were so many rockets that came through that Israeli missile defense could not manage to intercept all of them. About 10 got through. One hit an old age home. They're all targeted at civilians. These are war crimes. Whatever some other media say, Israel aims at military targets and tries to minimize any risk of civilian being hit, whether Israel is hitting Iran or Lebanon or Gaza. This is some of the biggest barrage of huge ballistic missiles aimed at civilians that we saw about an hour ago. Nevertheless, people in Israel this morning are, I would say, in a good mood, because for decades, the state of Israel has lived under this threat of a nuclear weapons in the hands of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is a genocidal regime, which from the very beginning of the 1979 revolution, it has proclaimed death to Israel. And one thing that the Jewish people have learned, having gone through a Holocaust within living memory, they are still Holocaust survivors from the Nazi Holocaust, is that when someone says they're going to wipe out an entire people, the Jews have learned to believe them. So this is not a joke. Iran, the other countries that tried to get nuclear weapons in recent decades, which was Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Assad in Syria, Israel prevented them by bombing in 1981 Osirak in Iraq and 2007 nuclear weapons sites in Syria. And we have to remember that both Assad and Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons on civilians against their own citizens, in fact, in the case of both Assad and Saddam Hussein. So it's not a light threat for Iran to go nuclear. So in spite of the fact that the entire Israeli population is proving itself incredible resilience to be bombed, to withstand this barrage of attacks, as we're seeing on screen now, people are relieved, because for all our lives, we've kind of known that at some point, Iranian nuclear program will have to be taken out, as it was last night by President Trump and the United States, by missiles, because, you know, the Western powers and also Russia have been negotiating with the Islamic Republic for many, many years, and the Islamic Republic is playing games. It is clear that the Islamic Republic wants a nuclear weapons arsenal, which is why it spent tens of billions of dollars building a military fortified site underground in Fordo, which was bombed last night by the United States, because no other country has a bomb powerful enough to penetrate Fordo, which is why B-2 planes from the United States flew all the way from Missouri, apparently, and dropped up to 6 heavy bombs on Fordo. And according to President Trump, that has been finished, Fordo as a nuclear site. There were also, I believe, about 30 Tomahawk missiles fired at the underground part of Isfahan, which also has an underground part to its nuclear site. Israel was able to hit the overground part in the last 7 days in Isfahan and Natanz, but only American bombers could hit the underground part.
Mr. Gross, how might Iran respond to these strikes? Should we expect immediate retaliation or a more calculated long-term strategy?
Well, there has been immediate retaliation against Israel this morning. You know, as I just said, 10 missiles got through. in spite of Israel's world-class missile defense. And because it was early morning, some people were asleep. In one case in Haifa, in the northern city of Haifa, which is mixed Jewish and Arab, the missile sirens malfunctioned, so the people weren't given the warning to get to bomb shelters. In other cases, sometimes it's the shrapnel falling from the bomb once the bombs have been intercepted by Israel missile defense. Of course, what we've seen this morning, these two barrages, may only be the beginning of the Iranian response, but President Trump has warned the Islamic regime that if they respond to the American act last night, America will hit back much harder. But it's hard to know what the Islamic regime will do. I mean, America has a massive military force around Iran. They have bases all over the Gulf. So I think that the Islamic regime would be well advised not to up the ante. I should also point out that although Israel has been very, very targeted in its strikes against the military and nuclear scientists in the past 9 days, Israel also has a lot of weapons it has not used yet. Israel has not used any of its own missiles. And Israel doesn't want to, because Israel's war is not with the Iranian people. In fact, the Iranian people and the Israeli people enjoyed very good relations up until the 1979 Islamic Revolution. And as far as we can tell, most Iranians, like most Israelis, want to enjoy warm relations in future. So the last thing that Israel wants to do is kill civilians in Iran. Nevertheless, we have to see how it transpires. If I just might add one more thing, so that international viewers can get an understanding. As we know, the Jewish people are small people, 12, 14 million, most of them now living in Israel, but also in other countries. Historically, very few countries have been friendly towards the Jewish people. I'm thinking, for example, of Azerbaijan has been friendly, Albania has been friendly, India has been friendly. Today, the United States government is friendly. But Jews around the world in other countries know that were Israel to be wiped out, which is the aim of the Islamic regime in Iran, Jews elsewhere will also be much more vulnerable. In spite of the fact Iran, and before that Hamas and Hezbollah, are sending rockets at Israel still feels safer that they have a strong army and a strong air force than were Israel not to exist. And this will make Jews vulnerable again, as they were in the past, which led to the Holocaust. So in spite of the difficult times that Israelis are going through, the vast majority are thankful to their government of Netanyahu. Even those people that don't support or vote for the government are thankful to the Netanyahu government for this act against Iran. And even those who don't like President Trump are greatly thankful to President Trump in Israel. But I should say that if people are honest with themselves in other countries, they should also be thankful to President Trump, because had the Iranians managed to acquire nuclear weapons, this would also have set off a nuclear arms race in the Gulf, making the entire world far, far less safe. And I think deep down, even diplomats in Geneva know that the Iranian regime was never going to agree through diplomacy to dismantle its nuclear program.
Tom Gross, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your valuable perspective at such a critical moment. We greatly appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.